What if I told you the millionaire retiree is one of the biggest myths in modern finance? We hear about it constantly in the media, like it's the gold standard for retirement. But when you look at the real numbers, the truth is pretty shocking. Analyses based on Federal Reserve data show that only around 3% to 5% of all American households have actually saved $1 million or more for retirement. That means roughly 95 out of every 100 families are not millionaire retirees. If you only listen to the financial news, you'd think $1 million is just the entry fee. We're so used to hearing stories about people retiring with $3, $5, or even $10 million that it starts to feel normal. But the reality, almost no one gets there. In this video, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you the real story behind the numbers, dig into why this goal feels like a fantasy for so many, and most importantly, talk about what you can actually do to build a secure retirement, whether it's with $1 million or not. My name is Mike, and I spend way too much time thinking about how money actually works in the real world. Not in headlines, not in fantasy scenarios, but in reality. If you're someone who's ever felt behind or anxious, or like you're chasing a retirement number that keeps getting bigger every year, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, we're cutting through the noise. We're going to answer one simple question. How many Americans actually retire with $1 million? And more importantly, what does that mean for you? All right, let's get right into the data because the numbers tell a fascinating and frankly, slightly terrifying story. According to the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, the average retirement savings for a U.S. household is $333,940. But that number is a classic financial trap. It's the average, and averages can be big, fat liars. Think of it this way. If Elon Musk walks into a bar with 99 regular folks, the average net worth in that bar is suddenly in the billions. But does that make anyone else a billionaire? Of course not. The median, the person standing right in the middle, is still a regular person. The same is true for retirement savings. While the average is skewed by a few mega savers at the top, the median retirement savings for all American families is a much more sobering $87,000. The median shows us what the typical American actually has, and it paints a far more realistic picture. And when you break it down by age, the story gets even clearer. For households getting close to retirement, those between 55 and 64, the average savings balance is $537,560. Sounds pretty decent, right? But the median for that exact same group is just $185,000. That means half of all households on the verge of retirement have less than $185,000 saved up. Once people actually hit retirement from ages 65 to 74, the average ticks up to $609,230, but the median is still just $200,000. So even among retirees, half of them are working with a nest egg of $200,000 or less. So where does this idea of the millionaire retiree even come from? Well, it's a very exclusive club. Analyses from sources like the Employee Benefits Research Institute show that only about 5% of households that have retirement accounts have managed to hit $1 million or more. If you look at even higher numbers, the group gets microscopic. Only about 1.8% of households have $2 million or more, and a tiny 0.1% have over $5 million. The $1 million retirement isn't the norm. It's the extreme exception. The numbers don't lie. So if everyone's talking about $1 million retirement, why do so few people actually make it? It's a messy combination of tough economic realities, human behavior, and just plain math. First, and most obvious, people aren't saving enough. and they're starting way too late. According to the Retirement Confidence Survey, a huge chunk of workers has next to nothing saved. One recent survey found that 29% of workers have less than $25,000 in total savings, and 14% have less than $1,000. When you're that far behind, catching up feels almost impossible. Missing out on your 20s and 30s is financially devastating because you lose your single greatest ally, compound interest. Time is the most powerful force in finance, and most people don't get serious until that force is a shadow of what it could have been. Second, there's a huge and growing gap between what people think they need and what they actually have. A third of workers now believe they'll need at least $1.5 million to retire comfortably. But as we just saw, a similar number have less than $50,000 saved. This isn't just anxiety. It's a reaction to the world around us. Inflation is a top concern, with many people feeling like rising costs are kneecapping their ability to save. It creates this crushing psychological burden where the goalpost keeps moving further away, which is so discouraging that some people just want to give up. Third, you can't ignore the economic headwinds. For decades, wages for a huge portion of the population haven't kept up with the rising cost of living. When your paycheck barely covers your rent, groceries, and a car payment, saving for a future 30 years down the road feels like a luxury you can't afford. This is made even worse by debt. Student loans, credit cards, medical bills. It's like a constant drain on the money that could be invested and growing for your future. More than half of millennials and Gen Z say they believe they'll have a harder time saving for retirement than their parents, precisely because of these pressures. And finally, there's what I call the house rich, cash poor illusion. A lot of people see their home value shoot up on Zillow, and they feel wealthy. But net worth on paper isn't the same as cash in the bank. Your home equity can't pay for your prescriptions or your travel plans unless you sell the house or borrow against it. This is exactly why analysts look at investable assets, not just total net worth. That tiny 3 to 5% of Americans with $1 million in the bank, that figure is specifically looking at their retirement accounts, and it excludes home equity for this very reason. Okay? If hearing all these stats is making your heart beat a little faster, just take a deep breath. Seriously. The point of this is not to scare you. It's to ground you in reality so you can make a plan that actually works. We're about to pivot from the problem to the solution. And if you want a head start, I've linked a fantastic free retirement planning guide in the description below. It's a great, simple first step you can take to get back in control of your future. Let's bust another myth. The idea that everyone with $1 million is living some flashy, Instagram-worthy lifestyle. The truth about the small percentage who do reach that milestone is usually a lot more, boring. And boring is good. Think of the everyday millionaire. These people have been studied for decades. They aren't celebrities or tech founders. They're teachers, engineers, small business owners, and middle managers who simply built their wealth slowly and consistently over time. They live in modest neighborhoods, drive reliable cars for years, and they made saving and investing a priority over buying flashy stuff. They didn't hit the jackpot. They just played the long game, and they won. Of course, inside that top 3 to 5%, you also have the high flyers. Let's call them the outlier executives. These are folks earning $200,000 plus a year who have religiously maxed out their 401s, 2Ks, and other accounts for 30 plus years. With a high income and decades of discipline, They might hit $2 or $3 million by retirement. But that path requires an income level that most Americans will never reach. Then you have the typical retiree. Think of Jane. She's a good stand-in for the median American. She retires with about $200,000 in her 401k. It feels like a lot of money at first, but after a few years, she realizes her expenses are higher than she planned for, and her lifestyle is more limited than she'd hoped. This is the reality for millions of retirees who find themselves cutting back on travel or hobbies because their nest egg just isn't big enough. And we have to be honest, not everyone in the Millionaire Club got there by saving from a paycheck. A good number of them are business owners who sold their company or people who received a large inheritance. Their path to wealth is completely different and not a strategy that the average person can replicate. So when you see those headlines about millionaires, remember, it's a mix of disciplined savers, high-earning execs, and people who got a one-time windfall. So how do you go from feeling stressed out by the statistics to feeling empowered? You stop worrying about everyone else, and you build your blueprint. The goal isn't to blindly chase $1 million. It's to build a retirement that is secure and comfortable for you. First, start now and be relentlessly consistent. I don't care if you're 25 or 55. The most powerful weapon you have is not how much you earn, but how much time your money has to grow. Starting young is like giving yourself a massive head start in a marathon. But even if you're starting later, consistency is your superpower. Set a savings rate you can actually stick to. A 15% savings rate is the gold standard many pros recommend, and that includes any free money your employer gives you in a 401k match. Second, maximize your tools. If your employer offers a 401k match, you have to contribute enough to get the full amount. Not doing so is literally turning down a 100% return on your money. It's free cash. After you've secured the match, open a Roth IRA. It's one of the best tools out there because your investments can grow completely tax-free. Third, define your number and forget the $1 million myth. $1 million is a totally arbitrary number. Your retirement goal should be personal. It should be based on how you want to live. Use an online retirement calculator and figure out what you'll actually need based on your expected spending, travel, and healthcare. The real goal here is financial independence, the point where working becomes a choice, not a necessity. For some, that might be $800,000. For others, $1.5 million. Knowing your real target makes the goal feel real and achievable. Fourth, put it on autopilot. Willpower is overrated. Automating your savings makes it painless. Set up automatic transfers from your paycheck to your 401k and from your checking account to your IRA on the day you get paid. When the money never even touches your hands, you can't be tempted to spend it. This is the oldest, simplest, and most effective trick in the book for paying yourself first. And finally, ignore the noise. The market will go crazy. The news will scream about the next crisis. Your neighbor will pull up in a brand new car. None of that matters to your plan. Stay focused on your goals, stick to your automated strategy, and trust the process. Building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint. So, how many Americans actually retire with $1 million? Very, very few. The millionaire retiree is more of a marketing concept than a common reality. For most people, the numbers are far more modest, with the typical retiree having around $200,000. But that shouldn't make you feel defeated. It should bring you clarity. It frees you from chasing an arbitrary, unrealistic goal and lets you focus on what really matters. Building a financial plan that works for your life. By understanding the real numbers, starting today, being consistent, using the right tools, and defining your own version of success, you can build a future where you are financially secure and free. You can enjoy your retirement no matter how many commas are in your bank account. The journey to a secure retirement doesn't start with $1 million. It starts with your next dollar saved. If you found this video helpful and want more realistic, data-driven financial advice, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And let me know in the comments, what's your biggest retirement question or concern? I read every single one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.